Hello, Las Cruces, and welcome back to another episode of Be Heard, where your voice will be heard. I'm your host, Dylan Swindle, here with mayoral candidate Jorge A. Sanchez and our guest, Shelly Nichols-Shaw. Now, Shelly, we are glad to have you here. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people?
Yes, my name is Shelly Nichols-Shaw, and I'm running for District Council, District 1.
Very nice. We're glad to have you. So this episode is going to be similar to our other episodes, where we bring up an umbrella topic, and we just, dive into the issues regarding and possible solutions.
And for everyone who hasn't seen the past shows, my name is Jorge Sanchez, and I'm running for mayor. Me llamo Jorge Sanchez y estoy corriendo para ser el alcalde de Las Cruces, Nuevo Mexico.
Awesome. Now, our first topic of the day, my friends, is the ADA and safety issues. So where do you want to start with that?
How about you start with that one, Shaw? Because I know you're a big advocate for it all, and I know you're one of the big reasons why you're running is to make sure that everyone is also represented equally, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of ADA issues here in Las Cruces that have been unaddressed and that have been represented as non-existent according to certain city councilors. And yeah, I've been able to raise them and bring them to their attention. Some of them I've been able to fix, some of them I haven't been able to. And I just keep working towards that because I want our city to be accessible, not just for people who have disabilities, but also for people who have other languages.
Exactly, and that's the main thing because we have to make sure that when we already live in one of the most diverse cities in America, it's not only by race, but we need to be able to represent any group there is, whether it's by different languages or even by disabilities. We have to make sure that everyone knows that Las Cruces is a livable place for them and that they are accepted and represented here, right?
Yes, it should be a universal design, not just an exception to the rule.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a quick question. So just in case our viewers are unfamiliar with what the ADA is, could you go ahead and give them a little bit of information regarding what that is?
Oh, okay. The ADA, American Disabilities Act, was established in 1990. And when it was established, it was to remove barriers and provide for the protection, civil rights protection, actually, for people who have disabilities. Before that, there were some laws on the books, but not very many. Mm-hmm. And so it was written and established to help protect, like I said, to remove barriers. And that's one of the things, the biggest issues, even here in Las Cruces, that most people don't even realize that do exist. Mm-hmm.
So as I brought up before, me being a real estate agent, we do have the Fair Housing Act, and we also have an ADA also when it comes to that, because we have to make sure that we do make all adjustments for all people with disabilities. And then to say, if me, myself, a real estate agent, were not able to make those adjustments and not make sure that any house that wants to be purchased is livable for anybody with any disabilities, I myself would lose my license because that's considered discrimination. Now, I know Dylan's the one that asked the questions, but I'm going to ask you this one. Do you think if the city does not comply by the ADA rules, do you think that the people should lose their positions?
Well, I don't know about losing their positions, but I do think that they need to be held accountable. Yeah. I've seen so many different issues being raised, and I think a lot of it is because they just don't know the laws, or they're not, just simply ignoring them, because they feel that they aren't necessary.
Well, exactly, but that's what I'm saying, because just being a real estate agent on its own, it's a quite less responsibility, quite less power, and they lose their position over it. But someone that's in the actual city government, pretty much on city council or anything, I feel like they should be held accountable as well, or there should be some type of penalty, because that is a huge law. I mean, it's a federal act.
Well, that's why six cities and counties in the state of New Mexico alone have already been sued, and they have lost because the counties and cities have been lost because of ADA violations that that the cities and counties thought that they could ignore, and Las Cruces is on the list. And I'm not saying that as some type of threat or whatever. It's simply a fact of life that if we don't get these into compliance, city is putting itself in jeopardy. From anybody. We had the lawsuits that were up in Santa Fe a couple years ago, where a lady supposedly representing the community was bringing up all these lawsuits. Well, it turned out that she was bringing them up frivolous lawsuits, And that doesn't help our situation, because then other people go, oh, well, you're just bringing for another frivolous lawsuit. And the fact is that, the way she did it was not by going through the law and having actual people who were experiencing the difficulties. She was paying people to go to the locations, if they went at all, to just file it under their names. And, I know I've brought up different issues here in Las Cruces. I've never threatened to sue the city.
Yeah.
Mayor has accused me of it, but that's not the case. And that he recently had to admit that was only his perception, as he put it, not a fact. And it's not that I ever want to sue the city. I want to just bring these into compliance, because that money can be used to help better other neighborhoods and provide more benefits for everyone.
Right. And, you and I were having a conversation prior to the show, and, you've expressed to me how much of an advocate you are. You are at the meetings and you are advocating for these issues, but nothing seems to be getting done. Now, what do you think can be done to, kind of spur this sense of urgency in the people in office?
I think the first thing that needs to be done is that the city lawyer and their inspectors need to be educated.
Right.
They don't seem to know the law. Yeah, she is, Jennifer Benega Brown is a lawyer, but she doesn't seem to know what the ADA laws. She's quoting that the city has the right to eliminate a sidewalk and only make one side of the street accessible. Well, that's not true, because once a sidewalk is built, according to the ADA, it is to be maintained, and you cannot make it less accessible. And such as West Fleming Avenue, there's the portion of sidewalk where they built a sidewalk in 1994, 4 years after the ADA became law. And instead of making it accessible, they took it out to make it a parking lot for the business. And that wasn't right, and especially when they did it with taxpayers' funds. That's a misappropriation of funds. They have the right to build sidewalks, and they have the right to build parking lots. But when you do it for just one business and you take it out and make it a once connecting and constant, what's the word I want to use? Basically connecting pathway to be able to go just about wherever you need to go, and you eliminate a section, you're hindering accessibility, and that's not okay.
So the reason that I brought Shelly on here is not only because she's running, and hopefully one day I get to work with you right there in city office, but because she is running for some of the reasons I am. You can tell right away that the city government at the moment, they don't really hear us. They don't hear the people and what they want, and not only that, what they need and what the law is. So it's not only our voice, but we're just not representing the law correctly. So the reason I brought her on here is because she has been advocating for this for so long. She's been fighting and fighting for this right and to make sure that the city follows the law, and it seems like she hasn't been heard or she's been avoided. And I myself have had some of the same experiences with the city government, and I know plenty of people that have. Most of my supporters have had the same experience, and that is one of the reasons that drove me to run for mayor. And no, I don't have anything against the city, but I do feel like I am the guy that can actually fix some of these issues, because my ears are always open to anybody who has a problem and is willing to bring that up. And I'm pretty sure yours is as well, because I talk to you and you're very open-minded. And that's what I'm trying to bring up is any position you vote for, make sure you vote for people that are open-minded. That is one of the top things. When you look at your ballot, make sure that your vote is for somebody that's open-minded and someone that's actually willing to make a change. Change isn't bad. Change is actually a good thing, because we need to begin progressing as a city.
Well, and actions speak louder than words. When you have a city that is trying to sweep things, and officials who are trying to sweep the issues under the carpet and pretend that they are not as severe as they are, or trying to minimize people's concerns, as you can see anytime you go to city council, it's done every single time during the public participation portion. I've watched the mayor, the current mayor, and others just, oh, well, there's Mr. Jeffers again. you know.
Right.
And it's really sad because Mr. Jeffers has something to say. Whether we agree with it or not is not the issue. He still deserves respect.
Right.
Whether the mayor agrees with my issues, you know, and the things I've raised or not, it's not whether, you know, it still should be respected. But the primary issue is transparency, as well as what does the law say? If the law says that, you know, stick to the law, but you can't just ignore it because this is what you want to provide for your good old buddy system.
And that's the thing. We need to remember that when we're running, I'm not running for me. We are running for the people. We are not here that are. I don't consider us city officials. I consider us city servants. We're here to serve the city. So, are we really serving the city if we're not hearing them out? Because, like you said, a lot of people are ignored, or they'll let them stand up there and talk. But it's like these words go in through one ear and just come out the other. What we need to do is we need to listen to everybody, because we're here to serve the city, and these are citizens of the city, and we need to give them a voice. We need to make sure that they know what they say is actually comprehended, and we're going to take it into consideration.
Absolutely.
Well, if you go to city council meetings, you'll see that they never get back with anybody, or at least not that I'm aware of. They don't respond, or if they do, it's to minimize what's being said. The ADA issues I've raised. Oh, well, you know, you're just making a mountain out of a molehill, Ms. Shaw. You know, and it's like, are you serious? You know, this is a safety issue. There's been on West Fleming alone, there's been over 30 collisions from vehicles backing out of the parking lot that the city built that's in violation of their own codes.
Wow.
And it's located within 4 blocks of an elementary school. Most people don't realize city law says that within 4 blocks of an elementary school, both sides of the street will be, sidewalks will be available for the safety of our children. And yet the city took that out. For what reason? It was already an established sidewalk. And that's one of the things, I've never been able to get them to give me a citation or a valid reason of why they took the sidewalk out, other than the poor barbershop needed parking. Well, it's not up to city to provide that parking. Yes, if they can accommodate it without causing problems for other people, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, such as parking lots, whatever. But when they provide it just for their financial benefit, there's something definitely wrong in that picture.
See, and that's what I brought up to you the other day, is one of the things that does kind of get to me with the current city government is how there's these loopholes for only a few of the businesses. But remember how I told you when I was trying to open up my business, instead of kind of giving me a little bit leeway, it's one thing if they do it for everybody, but when it's for certain ones, that's kind of different, because for me, they made my experience even harder than it was supposed to be to open up a business here. And I feel like we either, number one, treat everyone the same, or number two, if one person gets leeway, we should all kind of have some leeway when we're trying to open up our business.
Well, and I can understand some of the older areas. There are historical guidelines that can be followed, and in practicality guidelines written within the ADA. Unfortunately, the city seems to think that they can just do whatever they want whenever they want. And I have been told so by former city attorney Babington, as well as others, that they make the rules, they can do whatever they want. And it wasn't right. And I've said that for 6 years. The historical example is one of the ones that the city can use for some of our older buildings and some of our older streets. It's the fact that once a sidewalk is built, it needs to be maintained and made available to everyone.
Absolutely. Now, this has been a great discussion. I'm sorry to cut you off, Shelly. I didn't mean to do this. But we are coming up on our commercial break, and we will be returning and continuing our conversation regarding ADA's guidelines, safety issues, and a few other topics that we have prepared for y'all. So make sure you tune right back in after these commercials, and we'll see you then. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jorge Sanchez, and this November, I'm going to be the #1 name on your ballot for mayor, and hopefully I'm your #1 choice as well. I plan on revitalizing Las Cruces into the self-sustained insourcing economy it can be. I plan on hiring the educational system and lowering crime. But at the moment, this is all a plan, but you, the citizens of Las Cruces, can make this idea come to life. So don't forget to watch me on the Candidates Forum on the Las Cruces Channel Facebook page, Mondays at 10 p.m. Thank you.
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hello, Las Cruces, and welcome back to Be Heard, where your voice will be heard. I am your host, Dylan Swindle, here with mayoral candidate Jorge A. Sanchez, and our guest, Shelly Nichols-Shaw.
Thank you.
Now, we have just, before the break, we were talking about ADA safety issues, but I'm going to go ahead and move us on down to our next topic, which is transparency in the government. Where do y'all want to start with that one?
Well, one of the things and one of the main reasons I'm running is because I have seen a lot of issues that aren't transparent. When a city makes claims and then they're not even able to back up their own claims with the laws and statutes that they're saying exist. Well, where are they? The fact that they use public funds, to change a sidewalk and into a parking lot, and then and told everybody and I have the documentation on it where they publicized and said, "Oh, we're bringing it into compliancy." Well, how is it bringing into a sidewalk into a parking lot, bringing something into compliancy when it's actually creating a barrier? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. And I think that there's a lot of issues like that in Las Cruces that, people are going, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And when you have candidates who are, or current council people who are sitting there not willing to stand up for the people, they claim they are, but how are they really when they're allowing a safety issue to continue to exist, not just for the last 4 years, but for longer than that, but they keep making delays to the issues. The city, in the West Fleming issue, the city agreed in May, that they would change the street and fix the sidewalks. Mm-hmm. Well, since then, they have changed the dates 3 times. Wow. And now it's last I heard at least, it's next June before they change it. And every time I've gone to city council, especially the last couple of city council meetings, and asked, why are you changing this? The subject keeps getting changed on me. Instead of addressing the issues, I'm being blamed for, you're just a problem child, Miss Shaw, basically is their attitude. Mm-hmm. And so instead of having the issues addressed, it's being manipulated. And that does not show transparency. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't show caring and concern for the citizens because, like I said, when 30 accidents happen on one corner, or in your case, I saw how the state put a sign right in the middle of your sidewalk.
Yeah,
that's really disconcerting because it's like, wait a minute, shouldn't they know what the laws are, especially if I can read them? Look.
Exactly. So a little bit of background on that was we opened up our business and they made sure that we put a sidewalk on the side of our business for pretty much handicap purposes, which we were okay with. And it's the law, we have to abide by it, especially if we wanted to open. So we did really what they asked for.
Sidewalk too.
Thank you. Yeah. So we did everything they asked for. We did the little walkway and all that. And then what they had done was right after we did that, they put 2 big signs. So they put 4 stakes overall right into our sidewalk it blocks the whole sidewalk, and it pretty much took away the whole purpose
of having the sidewalk.
Yeah, of having it there.
Oh. And wasn't that the state that did that, not the city?
Yeah, I think that was the state, yes. But yeah, the reason why I was kind of a little bit mixed up about it is because that's a small business. That money had to come out of our pockets to follow their guidelines, but then they did that and kind of took away the whole purpose of it. So at the end of the day, it was pretty much like we spent money for no reason.
Right.
And
then if they come back and say you're not in compliance, it was them who put you not in compliance. And I've seen that happen even with the city, where they have gone back to businesses and said, nope, you're not in compliance. You haven't met this rule yet, and jumped through this hoop yet, delaying the openings of many, many businesses because they haven't been transparent with their own expectations, for the businesses.
And I feel like, so as a city government, I feel like they need to listen to more people like Shelly because, like you said, you can have the opportunity to sue, but you're not, which is a great thing. But if you guys think about it, she says there's been over 30 accidents, and say they got the wrong person who's just not the person to get in that accident or get in that sort of situation with, then the city has a big problem on their hands. So spending a few $1,000s to fix the problem is way better than losing maybe even millions in a lawsuit, because you never know how bad the lawsuit can get. Because I've seen cities sued, it could be a small situation sued for millions of dollars. And that's the scary thing about it. I feel like the city needs to comply with it before it gets out of hand.
Well, they're not just putting people in safety and harm's way, because where are the people walking? They're walking in the middle of the street to get to the barbershop. They're the people who are backing out of the illegal parking area. They've been led to believe that this is a safe and legal place to park when it's not. Then the vehicles across the street are being damaged when they are the ones that are actually parking legally. It's as the city codes chief Chavez said at one point 5 years ago, I believe, during one of the meetings, he said that it was an accident waiting to happen. And why is the city putting the people in financial jeopardy when they don't need to? I mean, it'll cost less than $10,000 just to fix it the right way, and even if they just put the sidewalk in, but they agreed to spend more money to make the whole street accessible, a little bit more accessible, because there are some other problems that have come up since then. Yeah. And they just keep delaying it, and I just don't understand it, especially when we have double the revenues in reserves than what we're required to. Why are we holding on to all those extra reserves? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It's kind of like, why didn't they use that money instead of the Telshore money for the immigrant issue and helping the immigrants and all these other issues? Why are they, especially even to move along the Valley Drive projects faster? If it's an issue of money, why aren't they doing that for the people? It's our taxes. It's not their money. It's our taxes. And so why are they not using it to fix our streets, fix our plumbing problems with the sewage systems in the city, and fix our parks, and taking care of our children?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what astounds me is that, you were telling us about your personal experience, bringing these issues and, talking to the council, making your issues presented. And to my knowledge, there's not always a huge turnout to these meetings in terms of the public.
Well, right? It depends on the meeting. It really does. But I have seen the mayor switch the meetings and switch agendas in the meeting, which is partly his prerogative. But it takes 4 counselors to say, no, I want this to stay still, stay in place, or to bring up certain things for the agenda, even if the mayor disagrees. 4 counselors can bring it up, and I don't understand why. It's been years why they have not, and they've known about this whole issue for over 4 years. Many of them, because they were in office previously, why they haven't said, hey, wait a minute, no, we need to get this taken care of.
So as you were bringing up as well, the turnout there, and I've said this before, right. And I feel like having it also at Mondays at 1 p.m., that won't let the city be much really informed, because that's a really bad time to put it, because I'm going to say a majority of people work 9 to 5, or, you know, me, a real estate agent, I don't have time at 1 o'clock to be at City Hall. So I feel like what they also need to do is they need to change the time, because no one's really available on a Monday at 1 p.m.
Right.
We need to change it Monday or Tuesday, whichever day, but at 6:30, 7 o'clock, around there. And I know we brought it up, and they said, well, it's because we don't want the city workers working at that time or past 5.
Adjust the time.
Exactly.
You know, they're doing that with some of the other departments right now, including the Community Development Department. Exactly. They're now closed at, I believe, on Wednesday evenings or something like that.
Yeah.
I could have that time wrong, but many of the departments are even closing on Fridays early because they have to work. So why not adjust that time to accommodate workers as well as the community?
Yeah.
You know, again, that falls into that transparency of, you know, what are they, you know, why are they not willing to cooperate with everybody else?
And another thing I would personally want to do is I would want to make sure that each councilman would talk to more, have meetings in their own districts. If you're District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have a meeting in your own district and you hear what your district wants, and then we bring it up at the city council meeting. Because that'd be a nice thing to do, because you do represent your own district, correct?
Oh,
when you do win.
Well, and I know most of the districts do meet with their constituents, but it's not always on a consistent basis. And I do wonder, why is the council not having just a meeting where they can say, this is the concerns of my community, this is the concerns of mine. Oh, wait a minute, we're having all the same concerns. Let's see what we can do to address and make these a priority.
Exactly.
You know, there just doesn't seem to be that consistent working together. It's more of, no, this is mine, 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 versus helping each other.
Now, George, we have come to the end of our show, and if you have any final words for the viewers, now would be the time to say them.
Yes, as you can tell, there's many people here in Las Cruces that feel like their voice is not heard. And I've said this plenty of times, if you want a mayor that will listen to you, that will go to each community and hear out the needs of the people and the wants, and will make sure that we have a better generation and better community in the future, then you need to go out there and vote. It's your guys' choice who represents the city. It's your guys' choice who represents your district. If you want a good city council, a good mayor, then you guys have to go out there and vote. And just to make sure you guys know, make sure I am on your ballot if you want a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, and thank you, Las Cruces, and thank you to our guest, Shelly. We really appreciate you coming out and being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And make sure y'all tune in for the next episode of Be Heard, where your voice will be heard, 10 p.m. on Mondays on the Las Cruces channel Facebook page. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
I am George Sanchez, mayoral candidate, and I approve this message. Esteban Olivas, Treasurer.